After 7 years of selling on Etsy, I've made the incredibly tough decision to quit. And today I'm sharing why. This wasn't an easy choice. I've poured countless hours into creating hundreds of listings, building my shop, and growing my business. Etsy has been my primary platform for selling my original paintings for years. And I've recommended it as a fantastic place for emerging artists to start selling their work. At one point, I even considered creating a full course for artists about how to succeed on Etsy, but not anymore. Before I dive into the reasons why I'm leaving Etsy, let me take you back to where it all began and how my Etsy journey got started. I started my Etsy shop back in 2018, right around the time that I was diving into watercolors. Honestly, I was just looking for a way to bring in some extra income for my family. With small kids at home and most of my friends also in the thick of raising babies, it felt natural to focus on creating nursery-themed art. I began by painting sweet little baby animals, puppies and horses, sleeping critters, and other adorable creatures perfect for nurseries. Slowly but surely, I built up my shop, adding one painting at a time and eventually creating entire collections. Fun fact, I was actually the first artist to paint over 70 different puppy breeds for my shop. I loved that buyers could choose their favorite breeds to match their own pets. One thing I really appreciated about Etsy was how easy it was to get started. Listing your items was simple, the fees felt fair, and once I partnered with a reliable print shop to handle printing and shipping, I was able to set competitive prices and still turn a profit. Etsy also turned out to be a great place to sell originals, and for a while I even offered commissioned pet portraits. In my first full year on Etsy, I made about $10,000 in sales. It felt incredible to see my little shop grow. By adding more listings and expanding my collections, I saw sales jump up to $37,000 in 2020. Then came 2021, my best year yet, with over $40,000 in revenue. This was such a meaningful contribution to my family's income, and I genuinely loved creating artwork for my shop. At some point, I decided to stop offering commissioned work. Now, it wasn't because I didn't enjoy it. I did, but I realized that watercolor artists on Etsy were seriously underselling themselves. The market just wasn't supporting the time and effort that commissions required, and my prints were bringing in more income anyway, so I decided to focus on what was working, art prints and original pieces. In 2022, Etsy made one of its most controversial changes, a big increase in transaction fees for sellers. It jumped from 5% to 6.5%. This change sparked a lot of backlash and even led to a seller strike. Many of us were worried about how it would impact our already thin profit margins. At the time, too, I had started offering digital downloads for my paintings. Many other sellers were doing this, so I guess I thought I should too. The idea was simple. Buyers could download and print artwork themselves, making it an affordable and convenient option. But I quickly learned the hard way that having my art readily available in high-resolution digital files came with serious risks. There was one day I discovered that a puppy painting I'd created was being printed on mugs and sold on AliExpress. And to make this worse, this poor, unwitting college student had purchased hundreds of these mugs from AliExpress and was reselling them on Etsy. That led to a very awkward conversation. Around the same time, I also found one of my bear prints being given away for free on a Chinese computer wallpaper site. It was so frustrating, to say the least. I reported both instances of theft and thankfully had them taken down. But after that, I made the decision to remove all of my digital listings. It was just too easy for them to be stolen. Then came 2023, and honestly, it was one of the toughest years I've had on Etsy. The platform made even more changes that hurt small sellers like me. Fees continued to climb, mass-produced items flooded the marketplace, and Etsy reported record high revenue despite a drop in gross merchandise sales. I felt like the platform was moving further and further away from its original mission of supporting handmade goods. For me, 2023 was a turning point. My sales took a nosedive, and they've only continued to decline. 3 years ago, I was making consistent daily and weekly sales. Now, I'm lucky if I get one sale a week. There are a lot of reasons for this decline. There's fierce competition, lower visibility if you don't meet Etsy's increasingly rigid star seller standards, and in my case, the rise of AI-generated art on the platform. It's disheartening. If you search for puppy prints or nursery art on Etsy now, the first page is flooded with AI-generated listings. You can buy huge collections of digital images for just a few dollars. My giclée prints, which are more expensive and yes, less perfect because they're hand-painted, simply can't compete with that. On top of all of this, Etsy has also started randomly suspending accounts and removing listings without warning. I had 3 of my own listings taken down for supposedly violating Etsy's handmade policies. These were paintings I'd created myself, had listed for years, and they absolutely followed the rules. Despite multiple attempts to contact Etsy's seller support, I couldn't get the listings restored. The responses I got from support were vague and completely unhelpful. If you're looking for a deep dive into Etsy's fees, policies, and how they're affecting sellers, I highly recommend checking out this excellent video by Sustainable Jungle. It really lays out all the details. So why am I quitting Etsy? Simply put, it's just not worth it to me anymore. The rising fees and constant policy changes mean that my already modest sales barely cover the cost of even keeping my listings active. And with the flood of AI-generated art in my nursery niche, it's become almost impossible to stand out. If no one can find your art, no one's going to buy it. On top of that, my priorities have shifted. Selling my art isn't my main focus anymore. And honestly, Etsy doesn't align with my values these days. It feels like they've just become another giant corporation chasing profits above all else, and that's not something I want to support. So what's next for me? And if Etsy isn't a great option anymore for selling art, where does that leave other artists like us? I'll be honest, I don't have all the answers right now. Thankfully, I don't rely on art sales as my primary income, and my focus is on this channel and my watercolor mastery school. But if you're an artist looking to create some supplementary income, I think the best path forward is to take control of your own sales. Start by creating your own website. Use social media, word of mouth, and get involved in an art community to promote your work. There's no easy button anymore for selling art. You need to make potential buyers aware of your art and give them ways to connect with and support you, whether that's through direct messages, email, newsletters, your website, or even your own Shopify store. As for me, quitting Etsy won't happen overnight. Right now, I've deactivated all my listings that weren't getting seen or selling, which is already saving me money. And eventually I plan to create a page on my website where I can sell prints and original art. I'm excited about the idea of offering fair prices and charging what I believe my art is worth without Etsy's high fees or the pressure to offer free shipping. To everyone who has ever purchased from my Etsy shop, thank you. I absolutely love seeing your photos of my artwork hanging in nursery walls. And here's a fun fact, thanks to Etsy, my puppy prints actually made it into a Netflix movie with Ryan Gosling. Check this out.
All right, Emily made it to the big time. Ryan Gosling with her artwork in the background. And there again, all 3 of them.
All my paintings.
You're famous, babe.
In summary, I have such mixed feelings about leaving Etsy because it truly brought so much good into my life. But with the way it's changed, I just can't continue to support it with a clear conscience. Let's all do our part to support small businesses, independent artists, and handmade shops. When you buy original art instead of mass-produced or AI-generated pieces, you're making a huge difference. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Let me know in the comments. And if you're one of the 70% of viewers who haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to hit that subscribe button. You can also follow me on Instagram to see my latest artwork. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.